This is Locked On's MLB Top 100 Players, as voted on by the local hosts of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
This episode is brought to you by MLB The Show 26. Visit MLBThe.show/Locked On and use code Locked On to unlock a pack for use in Diamond Dynasty. Pre-order now. Available March 17th on PlayStation 5, Xbox, Nintendo Switch. Rated E for everyone. Welcome to the Locked On MLB Top 100 Release Show presented by MLB The Show. I'm your host, Peter Bukowski. Over the next 30 minutes, we will reveal the top 100 Major League Baseball players for the 2026 season. Alongside me is host of Locked On MLB, Paul Sullivan. You know him as Sully. And let's waste no time. Number one, to the surprise of absolutely no one, Shohei Ohtani from the LA Dodgers. Number one's easy. It's Shohei, the home run slugging pitcher phenom for the Dodgers. Sully, there's no brainer. Is he number one, not just this season, but in your mind, somewhere a little more grandiose, maybe all time?
Shohei Ohtani comes in at number one, and that is completely undisputed on the Locked On Podcast Network's MLB Top 100. I'm Harry Ruiz, host of Locked On Dodgers, and let's stop pretending this is debatable. Shohei Ohtani isn't ranked number one because of hype. He's there because he breaks baseball logic. Last season, he led the league in power, runs, and total damage at the plate, and casually returned to pitching with elite command and swing and miss stuff. Most guys change a game once in a week. Ohtani does it every single night, sometimes on both sides of the ball. Game 4 NLCS, you remember it. 50-50 with home runs and stolen bases in 2024. 50-50 with home runs and batters struck out in 2025. Best baseball player on the planet. Everyone is fighting to be number two because Shohei Ohtani is uncatchable since joining the Dodgers. To steal a line from Bret the Hitman Hart, Ohtani is the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be. And you don't have to be a Dodgers fan like me to enjoy a once-in-a-lifetime talent like his. Argue about the rest of the Locked On MLB Top 100 list all you want. You know who number one is.
Well, I think that he's certainly putting himself in the conversation of all time. He's certainly of this generation, certainly of this century. And he is, right now, he is in that position that his former teammate was, which was he's the MVP until proven otherwise. Man, why can't the Angels get players like Shohei Ohtani? But
or Mike Trout,
if only he had a good teammate. But yeah, he is the presumed MVP, and we've never seen a player who's done what he's doing on the field. But it has been the first time I've been following baseball since 1979, and this is the first time you can make an argument the biggest sports star in the world is a baseball player. It's always been a basketball player, a boxer, a soccer player, Tiger Woods for a while. You could make the argument for the Williams sisters for a while. You could make an argument for, Mike Tyson or Evander Holyfield. This is really, you can make the argument that he's the biggest sports figure in the world. And in my lifetime, it's never been a baseball player. So that's another unique place that he is put. I'm not saying there haven't been great baseball players, but as great as Bonds or Griffey or Trout or, former Red Sox utility infielder Stan Pappy they were never the biggest sports stars in the world. And I think Shohei is right now.
And it seems like he's head and shoulders above everyone else. But Brendan McKean from Locked On Yankees says not so fast.
Aaron Judge comes in at number two, and that is flat out wrong on Locked On Podcast Network's MLB Top 100. I'm Brian McKim, the host of Locked On Yankees. Don't get enamored by the fact that Shohei Ohtani does two things on the field. Aaron Judge is the better overall player. Judge's career batting average, .294, while Ohtani sits at .282. And Judge's on-base percentage, .413, while Ohtani's at .374. But let's get deeper than that, shall we? In the last 4 seasons, Judge has OPSs over 1.1, and that's except for 2022, when he disappointingly finished with a 1.019. Ohtani does not have one season over 1.1. And if that's not enough for you, how about we go to OPS plus? Since Ohtani got to the Dodgers in 2024, he's put up a 175 and 190 in both years. In those same years, Judge put up a 225 and 215, which is just absolutely insane and significantly better than what Ohtani does. Now, I'm aware that Shohei Ohtani is a pitcher as well, but Judge is one of the premier outfielders in all of baseball, and he's also played center field at an elite level. Ohtani isn't an all-time pitcher. He's only the number 4 on the Dodgers staff.
All right, so that makes number 2 easy then. It's Aaron Judge from the Yankees. Paul Skeens checks in at number 3 from the Pittsburgh Pirates, the phenom
And
pitcher.
I have to say this about Paul Skeens.
Okay.
It says a lot to the Pirates that you have a top 3 player in baseball, and they're saying things like maybe there's an outside chance you're a fringe contender for a wild card spot in the National League Central. You've got, now they have been putting good players, they've been at least getting major leaguers around them, step one, but we've heard this song before with Shohei in, I was going to say Los Angeles, in Anaheim, and with Mike Trout. Let's not waste this, Pirates. It's been since 1979 since you played in a World Series. Surrounded. Connor Griffin looks like he's going to be great too, but you've got to put major leaguers around him. You have a top 3 player. It is a Lamborghini in front of a mobile home right now.
Well, and we'll see if we get to any more Pittsburgh Pirates on this top 100
No, we
list.
won't.
I think from Sully's reaction, you can guess how many there are here. I mentioned Bobby Witt Jr. from the Royals at number 4 and Tarek Skubal from the Tigers at number 5. Anything stand out to you from that top 5 other than Paul Skeens being in desperate need of some help?
I think that every one of those players you have there is a legit either Cy Young contender or MVP. And you can just sort of see they're the type of players that you want them to have that dynamic postseason. And I just want Paul Skeens to pitch in the postseason.
That seems like a low bar to try and clear here, but look, that hasn't been the case in Pittsburgh over the years. At number 6, Juan Soto from the New York Mets, late of the New York Yankees. Cal Raleigh from Seattle coming off just a fantastic season. Jose Ramirez from Cleveland, the third baseman. Yoshinobu Yamamoto from the Dodgers. Sully, we just saw him have a postseason for the ages. He certainly earned his spot on this list. Vlad Guerrero Jr. rounds out our top 10. Does that feel like the right 10 for you?
I mean, yes, I think that I may put Yamamoto a tiny bit higher because I think he is one of the true aces we have in baseball. I'm a big lover of ace pitchers. And kudos to Jose Ramirez, who wants to win in Cleveland. He's the last remaining tied to the 2016 team, and Cleveland hasn't had a World Series title since 1948. Let me put it this way. Syracuse has had an NBA title more recently than Cleveland has had a World Series title. Milwaukee has had a World Series title. Cleveland couldn't win the World Series in the Major League movies, and those were fiction. They've got to pull it off, and I would love it if they win with Jose Ramirez because he's impossible to not root for that guy.
As a Milwaukee boy born and raised who went to Syracuse University, you are just like hitting all the buttons on this one, Sully. I appreciated that rant. Garrett Crochet comes in at number 11 from Boston, and we got another New York Met, Francisco Lindor. While Lindor isn't the first Met to appear on the list, Locked On Mets host Ryan Finkelstein is unsure he should be outside the top 10.
Francisco Lindor comes in at number 12 on Locked On Podcast Network's MLB Top 100. And I got to say, that's ridiculous. This is Ryan Finkelstein, the host of Locked On Mets. I can't believe that we don't have Francisco Lindor as a top 10 player in baseball. What does this guy have to do? Every single year, he posts, he plays 150 to 160 games. Most years, might only miss a game or two, and he's playing great defense the whole way through, and he's almost automatic for 30-30 every single season. If you want a consistent baseball player, that's Francisco Lindor, and I think he should be considered a top 10 player in the game, although I will say there's a lot of really good players in Major League Baseball.
Sully, I know this is a top 100 list, but I want to detour there for just a second because this is our first repeat spot here for non-pitchers, right? The Dodgers got 2 pitchers, but for position players, our first, is the Mets, is this finally it for the Mets?
No, it's not. They're not going to win the World Series this year. This is not a team that's built to win the World Series, in my humble opinion. There are better teams in their division. They're not better than Los Angeles. I don't think they're better than Philadelphia. I'd make the case they're not better than San Diego.
Mm.
I think the Mets are the walking argument that you make when someone says we need a salary cap. You say, well, the top paid team was playing golf while the Cincinnati Reds and Cleveland Guardians were in the postseason. I know that sounds cruel, and there's a reason it sounds cruel. It is cruel, but Francisco Lindor may have stuck around Cleveland where he would have had a better chance to win a World Series title alongside his buddy Jose Ramirez. It's mean, but no, this is not their year.
Oof. That's a tough one for Mets fans. At 13, Corbin Carroll from the Diamondbacks, Ronald Acuna Jr. in Atlanta.
Junior, not the old man, the junior.
Yeah, we got to make sure we get the
clear.
junior in there. At 15, Julio Rodriguez, center fielder from the Mariners. Fernando Tatis Jr. checks in at 16. We're on a string here now of position players.
Right.
Sully, is this a pitching problem, or are these guys just that good?
I think it's because you don't develop aces anymore. It's the same reason that you don't have movies that aren't superhero films. We're not developing aces. We're saying, okay, you've got your 5 1/3 innings now. They're treating that like your Bob Gibson in the 1968 World Series. You have to start allowing pitchers to go deeper into games because we're seeing bullpens getting gassed. So yeah, when you see the pitchers who are up there, those are the ones that are the rare aces out there. But we also need to see some more innings eaters. We need people who go deeper into games. So I think that's just based on the fear that we have of wearing pitchers out and also only using one stat to determine whether or not a pitcher's talented, and that is the radar gun. We need to have Greg Maddux. Would he be a major leaguer today? I don't think he would. He'd be considered maybe a backup mop-up, reliever. Could have been the smartest pitcher I've ever seen in my life.
At 17, Kyle Schwarber from the Phillies checks in. Ketel Marte, the Arizona Diamondbacks second baseman, at 18. Rounding out our top 20, we have Kyle Tucker from the LA Dodgers. Tucker just became the first ever $60 million man, yet he finds himself at 19. How does Locked On Dodgers host Travis Rogers feel about that?
So Kyle Tucker at number 19. I think this is one of the more interesting ones. Now, the Dodgers obviously have an embarrassment of riches with everybody that they have inside the top 100, quite frankly, inside the top 50. So this is an incredibly Dodger-heavy list, to be sure. But 19 seems oddly high for him. I know that we're talking about a guy that's won the World Series. I know we're talking about a guy that is just one of the most consistent players in baseball, somebody that's going to give you a quality at-bat after quality at-bat after quality at-bat. But I'm really curious to see what it looks like when he gets dropped into the middle of this Dodger order or near the top of this Dodger order, because I think he can only get better from here. I think 19 may be where he is right now. I'm curious as to how many better pitches he's going to see. I'm curious what the numbers might look like when you're surrounded by all the great hitters that he's going to be surrounded by. But I do think that there is a bit of a wild card in Tucker, that playing in Los Angeles with the amount of attention that is on this team will be interesting. Will he thrive with it? Will he struggle with it? Will he be completely indifferent towards it? I think it's probably the last thing I just mentioned, but I'm very, very happy to have him here. I think it's really interesting that the Dodgers went short-term big dollars with him. 19 feels about right for Kyle Tucker.
Finally, another starting pitcher on the list, rounding out our top 20, Christopher Sanchez from the Phils. Coming up, the Dodgers' appearance on this list continues with 3 more in the top 30. It's tax time, and for a lot of us, the old way of doing taxes is a lot. Trying to book an appointment that's not the most convenient, sitting in a waiting room with stacks of papers, emailing back and forth and wondering if you've really got a handle on the situation. But this year's getting a major upgrade. Intuit TurboTax now has in-person locations nationwide. You can meet face-to-face with a real tax expert, and your documents get uploaded straight to the TurboTax app on the spot. And just like that, you're done. Your TurboTax expert works to get you every dollar that you deserve, while you get real-time notifications in the app as you go along about your day. It's the relief of walking in and meeting a real person and walking out knowing your taxes are being handled the right way. Head to TurboTax.com/local to find a store near you. and book your appointment. Today's episode brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. College basketball is nonstop. Big games, tight spreads, momentum swings every single night. From early tip-offs to late-night West Coast shootouts, there's always action on the board. And now FanDuel is giving you a better way to turn that energy into even bigger potential wins with a college basketball parlay profit boost. You can build any college hoops parlay you want, rivalry games, ranked matchups, whatever fits what you're in the mood for in the moment, whatever fits the slate that night. You can make spreads, totals, and player props to match how you see the slate playing out. Then you apply that profit boost and instantly bump up your potential payouts. Go safe, go bold, ride with the team you've been following all season. It's your parlay, your style. Go with the upside behind it. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com. FanDuel, play your game. We've got an infield run coming here, Sully, at 21. Freddie Freeman from the Dodgers, the first baseman, getting up there in age, but still producing. Gunnar Henderson at 22 from Baltimore. Shortstop, Mookie Betts, shortstop. Geraldo Perdomo, shortstop. That is a group of extremely fun, extremely talented players and, you know, the wily veteran there.
Why can't the Red Sox get players like Mookie Betts? I don't understand this thing. I would have Betts higher than that. I think Betts is still, I think, no offense to Gunnar Henderson nor to Freddie Freeman, but Betts is going to have, I think, another tremendous season. And the fact that you can put him in the outfield, you can put him at shortstop, you can put him at second base, and he can hold his own. You know, the Red Sox did get Alex Verdugo, and that was worth giving up a franchise player for. I grant you. Thank goodness they saved some money. But I would put Betts a little bit higher. And then you got Nick Kurtz from the West Sacramento A's. I refuse to just call them the Athletics. They play in West Sacramento, and that's where they are. And I love to see Nick Kurtz at that point. I want to see him batting leadoff. And the A's, if they can avoid a bad May and June, like they did their final year in Oakland and their first year in West Sacramento, they weren't that far away from putting together a 500 season last year. And my one real dream for 2026 is to see a playoff game in West Sacramento. Let's go do it. Let's go do it.
Anytime you can invoke a directional Sacramento baseball team, you have to do it. At 26, Hunter Brown, the pitcher from the Houston Astros. Will Smith. Yeah, you know where he played. The Dodgers, another Dodger on the list, Sully. Corey Seager checks in at 28, another shortstop. And then Max Fried, the New York Yankees starting pitcher at 30. Our pal Jeff from the Locked On Reds podcast will be happy to see Elly De La Cruz here. The young shortstop in Cincinnati took the team and league by storm. He sits at 30, but he won't be here for long. Here's Locked On Reds host Jeff Carr.
Elly De La Cruz comes in at number 30, and that is not where he will be next year on the Locked On Podcast Network's MLB Top 100 list. I'm Jeff Carr, one half of Locked On Reds, and sure, based on the numbers from 2025, I can kind of see why Elly De La Cruz is ranked number 30 on the Locked On MLB Top 100, but there are some key details that are going to be completely different this year. Firstly and foremostly, the fact that he finished 2025 with an injured quad. Elly De La Cruz basically played the final 52 games of last season on one leg. All the way through July, his on-pace numbers were for 28 home runs, 106 RBIs, and 47 steals. He ended up finishing the season with 22 homers, 86 RBI, and 37 steals, largely in part because he was playing on one wheel. That's going to be different this year. That's going to change because he tacked on 15 pounds of muscle in the offseason. He looks what I'm pretty sure a Greek god would look like hitting a baseball right now, and he is going to be all over the baseball. We're going to see some crazy stats. I firmly believe he's going to be much higher on this list come next year. In fact, I dare say Francisco Lindor ought not get comfortable as the top shortstop in the National League because Elly De La Cruz is coming for that spot. Honestly, his on-pace numbers would have put him on top in RBI and steals, and he would have been right there with home runs as well. I firmly believe that Elly De La Cruz is going to break out and go crazy, and he's going to be much higher on next year's Locked On Top 100 list. So sure, whatever, 30? Yeah, it's fine for right now. We'll see you next year in the top 10.
Sully, I know 30 if you're Jeff Carr or a Reds fan, seems low, but didn't a year or two ago, didn't it seem like he'd be in the top 10 by now?
Perhaps. I actually would have had him a little higher than Corey Seager, in my very humble opinion. But I think that's about right. And I think that the Reds are developing. Obviously, you brought in Tito Francona to be the manager, and he was not there for a rebuild. And lo and behold, they wound up taking the spot that the Mets thought they had. So I think that if they build upon it, you're going to see De La Cruz move up when we're here before the lockout in 2027.
Another group here in the 30s, Junior Caminero from Tampa Bay, the third baseman at 31. Pete Alonso still doing it, the polar bear at 32, just not for the New York Mets anymore. It's going to be weird, Sully. It's going to be weird to see him in an Orioles uniform.
How could the Mets compete, a low-budget team like the Mets compete with big market clubs like Baltimore? It's just not fair. It's just not fair. I don't know what's going on. They throw money around like crazy unless it's their own player. I don't get it. And that's one of the reasons that they're playing whack-a-mole. Met fans hate me for saying this, but come back to me at the end of the year. If there's a parade down the Canyon Heroes and the Mets are there, I'll have a big old bowl of crow. But I think that crow is pretty safe right now.
Well, PETA will be happy to hear that. Trey Turner checks in at 33, the Phil shortstop. Matt Olson, first baseman in Atlanta at 34. Logan Webb at 35, the Giants starting pitcher there. Yordan Alvarez.
Too high.
At 30.
Too high.
Go ahead, Sully.
Yordan Alvarez is too high, for my opinion. Coming off of the injuries and everything like that, I'm sorry. I'm not besmirching him, but there are other people down the list here that I would put up. Other players, I would put Jeremy Pena, his teammate, ahead of him at this point. When he's healthy, he's obviously a wonderful hitter. But I'm not going to put him as a top 40 player right now with some of the question marks of his health.
Jeremy Pena coming up here in just a couple spots. Byron Buxton first from the Twins at 37, their center fielder. And at 38, Bryce Harper. He's been an NL East beast for over a decade, now entering his 15th season, though, of course, he's just 33 years old. Is 38 the right spot? Here's Locked On Phillies host Connor Thomas.
Bryce Harper comes in 38th on our top 100 MLB players list here on Locked On. I'm Connor Thomas, your host of Locked On Phillies. And this is what Dave Dombrowski was trying to say, right? No, I don't know if he's elite anymore, Bryce Harper. Well, 38th, it's pretty darn good, but it's not where Bryce Harper normally grades out. And I think it's a little unfair to him. Now, if we're just going off of last season, yeah, he had a lackluster season by elite player standards. I understand that. But to be behind Trey Turner, Christopher Sanchez, Kyle Schwarber, 3 other Phillies ahead of Bryce Harper. One, it shows you the strength of this roster, really, if you look at it. They do have a very top-heavy, star-powered lineup. But when you look at who Bryce Harper still should be at this point in his career, I think he's going to have a much better season than the 38th best player in baseball. I don't believe there are 37 better players on the planet. So I think Bryce Harper is being underrated in-house and league-wide as we continue to look at the top 100 players.
Manny Machado, the Padres' third baseman, is our 39th ranked player on the list. Pete Crow Armstrong, one of the most fun players in baseball. And again, as a Milwaukee boy, that does hurt me a little bit to say. Chris Sale at 41. The Braves starting pitcher Alex Bregman at 42 here. Another
more
Chicago
players. Why can't the Red Sox get players like Chris Sale and Alex Bregman? It doesn't make any sense to me. They can't get players like that. It makes no sense.
The Red Sox and the Mets catching and the Angels catching a lot of praise on this show.
And anyone who's going to say I'm giving the Mets too much, I'm going to give the Red Sox a plenty. Notice that we've only had one Red Sox in this entire list so far, but we got a lot of former Red Sox we're mentioning.
That unfortunately for Red Sox fans is very true. At 43, Hunter Green, pitcher from the Reds, so that'll make Jeff happy. At 44, Bo Bichette. Okay, another Met. So they got something. Right. They got something brewing here.
They're building their team around defense. So their first step is to sign a guy to play out of position. So you can't fault them on their strategy.
And the reports out of spring training has been all those position changes are going great, right, Sully? No problems there.
That's how it works. That's how it works. We've seen this before. Go play. Go learn a new position.
The 45th Dodger, it seems, on the list. Blake Snell, he's actually our 45th player. Zach Wheeler, 2 pitchers in a row here. In fact, we got a little bit of a run. Jeremy Pena, the shortstop from Houston, at 47, but then Freddie Peralta, another starting pitcher, here at 48. New York Mets again. But Jackson Chourio, the first Brewer on the list, Sully. 48 players went ahead of the first Brewer, and they were the best team in baseball last year.
I would put Jackson Chourio a little higher than some of the other players that we have here. Also, because a list like this isn't just based upon their production from last year, but what we think they're going to be doing moving forward. I think Chourio is going to be one of the really bright stars in the game, and so I mean, I would have him in the top 30, in my humble opinion. But I voted on this, so I think I probably had him in the top 30.
Yeah.
So there you
go.
Go.
Next year, maybe we'll be having a different discussion about this, and maybe we'll be having a different discussion about the Milwaukee Brewers than we've been having for seemingly a decade and a half now. Framber Valdez checks in for the Tigers, rounding out our top 50. Cody Bellinger, New York Yankees outfielder, is our 51st player on the Locked On MLB Top 100. George Springer from the Blue Jays, their DH, checks in at 52. Another Brewer on the list, Bryce Terang, second baseman. Bryce could arguably be the second best second baseman in all of baseball, but he's overlooked a lot. Is he overlooked on the Locked On MLB Top 100? Here's Locked On Brewers host Chuck Freeman.
Bryce Terang comes in at number 53 on the top 100 list. Terang, one of the best second basemen in baseball, and he could not crack the top 50 on the Locked On Podcast Network's top 100 list. Hey, everybody, I'm Chuck Freeman, Locked On Brewers host. Terang, 5-tool guy, added power to his repertoire this past year. And I think he's going to hit between 25 and 30 home runs this year from the second base spot. I believe he's one of the top 5 second basemen in baseball. I really do. Give Marte his due over at Arizona, but Terang is right there. There's nothing that those guys can't do that Terang can't do. Field his position, steal bases, hit for power, hit in the clutch, 5-tool guy. I think Terang has got it all, and I think he's only getting better and better. He's on the ground floor of something special in Milwaukee. They just got to break the door down and get to a World Series. But Bryce Terang comes in at 53 on the Locked On Podcast Network's top 100.
Sully, when you look at we mentioned the Brewers, but when you look at this team, they've kind of hammed and egged it, but they do have some premier talent, and they've got a bunch of guys that they acquired in trade, some premium minor league talent. In a year or two, are we going to be looking at a different composition of this list when it comes to the Brewers?
The Brewers gestate, they move around, because people were saying, what are they doing when they give up Devin Williams? What are they doing when they give up Willie Adames? And then they got better. I mean, the Brewers seem to be one of those teams that it doesn't seem to make sense. But here's what they do. They put the ball in play, which I know you're not supposed to do. You're only supposed to hit home runs, walk, and steal bases. But they put the ball in play, and they don't make stupid mistakes. Now, granted, the bats ran out of juice, and they
sure did.
Ohtani almost hit as many homers in that fourth game as the Brewers scored runs the entire series. The bats just went silent. But for right up until that point, they just played mistake-free baseball. They didn't give up extra outs. Pitching did their job. Their defense did their job, and they got the right hits when they needed to, and they put the ball in play, and they forced the other team to screw up. And that's a good brand of baseball to play over 162 seasons. Now, we'll see if it plays well in a short series. They've lost to teams in the past few years where they probably should have beaten. Now, would that have included last year's Dodgers team? I don't know, but they had home field advantage over the Dodgers. And, and they looked like they were rallying in that game one. And they came to almost this close to a hit by pitch that would have tied the game in game one. Who knows what that would have meant to the series. But the Dodgers won. The Dodgers deserved it, of course. But, people overlook the Brewers at their own peril. And they're always going to be making moves. And I guarantee you some of the players they got back from Freddie Peralta are going to be like, wow, who would have thought they were going to be, but that's the way.
The answer is the Brewers. The Brewers thought they were going to be, because that's what the Brewers do. At 54, Roman Anthony. Okay, now some Red Sox on the list, Sully. Wow. They're back.
Yeah, and he was the main reason the Red Sox lost that series. His injury was the reason why they lost to the Yankees. because what they needed was a big left-handed thumper. Like, I'm trying to think of a player on another team, especially one who hits well against the Yankees. Someone like the Red Sox could never get a guy like this, but like a Rafael Devers in the middle of their lineup. But thank goodness that the Red Sox played 0 players that they acquired for Mookie Betts or Rafael Devers in that series against the Yankees, because it just shows those were just 2 quality trades that they made.
Rafael Devers checking in at 56 just after Jacob deGrom was at 55. Mason Miller, pitcher from the Padres, at 57. Another Brewer here at 58. William Contreras at 59. Player. Brian Yu, the pitcher from the Mariners, and at 60. Nathan Eovaldi from the Rangers. Coming up, we finish out the Locked On MLB
another
Top 100 list. What'd you say?
Sorry. I said another former Red Sox.
Look, the hits just keep on coming here on the Locked On MLB Top 100 list. Mike Trout in the final 40. MLB, it's changed a lot in the last 5 years. Today, I'm thrilled to be talking to you about our sponsor, MLB The Show 26. The greatest game in baseball is back with its newest installment. Baseball fans are going to have a hard time pulling themselves away from this one. This is the realest game in baseball history. It's the most fun, the most in-depth, the most exciting. There's never been a better way to play baseball than MLB The Show 26. You've got career mode. If you're a diehard fan, what are you waiting for? This is your opportunity to be in the show. That's why it's called The Show. If you're a gamer, a baseball fan, or just want to enjoy America's favorite pastime in a new and exciting way, you're going to love MLB The Show 26. Play as your favorite team and franchise players and see if you have what it takes to win the World Series. Visit MLBThe.show/lockedon and use the code LOCKEDON to unlock a pack for use in Diamond Dynasty. Internet connection is required. Pre-order now, available through March 17th on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series S and X, and Nintendo Switch, rated E for everyone. All right, at 61, Nationals left fielder James Wood. No, not the actor. That's James Woods. Mike Trout at 62. Down here at 62. This is a name that 5 years ago would have been in the top 5, probably the top 1. Why is he appearing at 62? Here's Locked On Angels host John Frisch.
Mike Trout comes in at number 62 on the Locked On Podcast Network's MLB Top 100, and that's better than I thought he would do. What's going on, everybody? John Frisch, one half of Locked On Angels. Now, maybe this makes me a fake fan, but I had Trout at 91 in the Top 100, and honestly, that has everything to do with how he performed last season. Now, it was the most games he's played over the last 5 years in a single season, and he did most of that as a DH because of the knee issue and the injury that he suffered in April. It kept him out the month of May, comes back, and wasn't Mike Trout-like, and he attributes that to playing the role of DH from that point on. He didn't play the field after he returned from injury, and the numbers kind of back that up. Look, he still had a good season. Like, Mike Trout's worst season is somebody else's best season, but it was not a Mike Trout season. And so I am bearish on Mike Trout this season. He is going to play center field as much as possible this year, and they're going to, give him the days that he needs as a DH. But the fact is, I'm quite surprised that he came in at number 62. Maybe that has everything to do with his reputation. Maybe that has everything to do with how the other Locked On hosts perceive Mike Trout. He's still a threat at the plate. He's still Mike Trout. He still is a future first ballot Hall of Famer. But in my opinion, I'm quite surprised he hit 62. Not going to complain. But at the end of the day, I hope that there's better things in store for Mike Trout in 2026.
Sully, we got a lot more players to get to here, but Mike Trout was the generational superstar here for a long time. But he checks in now at 62. He's getting up there in age. Is this just over for him as that top tier superstar? Or is there a chance he can get back to where he once was?
Yeah, I think he now is a DH or a left fielder. We have seen the Mike Trout superstar era. And so now we're entering the Mike Trout older veteran sage player. I remember when I started following baseball back in 1979, there were the older sages who were the Willie Stargells, the Carl Yastrzemskis, the Manny Motas, the Lou Brocks, the Pete Roses, and the Phil Niekros of the world, who were older players, no longer the huge superstars, but still productive. But they need to be surrounded by other good players. And this is where the Angels have to do something, because Trout is basically what Albert Pujols was during his Angels time. And it's sad to say that we didn't have a Mike Trout postseason game that will be remembered forever. But if he does get a ring, it'll be that sort of end of the career, Dave Winfield, Frank Thomas, Paul Molitor sort of, Carlos Beltran at the end of the career. He finally got that ring, which I really hope he does, because if there's any player who deserves a World Series ring, it's Mike Trout.
All right, plenty more to get to here. At 63, Jackson Merrill, the Padres outfielder. 64, Randy Arozarena from the Mariners. Yandy Diaz from the Rays checks in at 65. At 66, Royals third baseman Maikel Garcia. 67, Wyatt Langford from the Rangers. Nico Horner, the Cubs second baseman at 68. 69, Logan Gilbert from the Mariners, and Stephen Kwan rounds out our top 70 from the Guardians, their left fielder. Any names from that list stand out to you, Sully?
I'm just a fan of Stephen Kwan. I like how he plays. He kind of reminds me a little of when Hunter Pence was with the Giants, and that was whenever Hunter Pence was in the lineup for the Giants went on a winning streak. And he just was always in the middle of something. And Kwan may not have the sexiest stats, but whenever you see Cleveland doing well, somewhere in the recap, Kwan's in the middle of it. And I love players like that. And I think he's one of those players that, Bernie Williams was similar to that, the peak for the Yankees as well. I'm just a fan of Kwan because he stirs things up.
At 71, Michael Busch, Chicago first baseman. At 72, Ranger Suarez, starting pitcher. We got another Red Sox on the list, yep. Sully. They're putting their list together here. At 73, Kyle Stowers from the Marlins.
Him. I think Stowers and Jacob Wilson of the West Sacramento A's go 73 and 74, and I love those two players. I think they're both a lot of fun to watch. The Marlins are going to be a sneaky team. They were knocking on the door at 500 last year, and they were a good team the second half of last year. If they just keep that team together a little bit and allow some of these young players to gestate, I think they were a wild card team in 2023, and they made some smart deals. They got good players back, including Stowers and some of the deals that they've made. So the Marlins are a fun team, and the West Sacramento A's are a fun team, and they both have outside shots. The Marlins won 79 games. The West Sacramento A's won 76. So they were knocking on the door of 500. So don't turn away.
Speaking of not turning away, we've got 25 names left on the list. Kevin Gausman from Toronto is at 75. Brandon Woodruff, Milwaukee's starting pitcher, 76. He has missed some playoff starts over the last few seasons that have really hurt the Brewers' chances in some of these playoff games. 77, Zach Neto from the LA Angels. If there's going to be someone who's going to maybe help Mike Trout, maybe Neto's got to be one of the guys. Jarren Duran from Boston comes in at 78 after Ranger Suarez. Locked On Red Sox host Gabby Maljanin on the lack of respect for Duran.
Jarren Duran makes the Locked On Podcast Network's MLB Top 100 at number 78. And this is an interesting one for me because while I no doubt view Jarren Duran as a top 100 player in baseball, the question is, should he be higher? And to me, there's not a lot of players who provide more overall value than Jarren Duran. If you take each aspect of his game individually, there are other players who are more effective than him. There are better defenders than him. There are certainly better hitters than him. Not many players that have more speed than him, though. And that's something that Jarren Duran provides to the game that a lot of other players don't. And when you think of the overall player that Jarren Duran is, the fact that he makes quite the impact on the base paths, can play sound defense. His offense declined from 2024 to 2025, which is what I believe knocked him down on this list. If he can improve offensively and get back to where he was at in 2024, he should no doubt jump to higher on this list. But for right now, I'm having trouble saying he should be higher than where he's at. So 78 feels appropriate to me for right now. That's a very light 78. If he can get going in 2026, we could see him a lot higher next season.
At 79, Willy Adames, the name Sully mentioned earlier, former Brewer, now in San Francisco. Joe Ryan at 80, the Twins starting pitcher. Josh Naylor at 81, first baseman out in Seattle. Riley Green at 82. Sully, Jose Altuve, still doing it, 83rd on this list. How much longer does he stay in the top 100?
Not much longer, but I think he has an outside chance at 3,000 hits. And I think he's going to stick around for that. He's also going to eventually be that
Sage.
Yeah, he's going to be the Sage player.
Teaching people how to use garbage cans and
now.
Look, I said it. You didn't have to. 84, Andrew Abbott from the Cincinnati Reds, the pitcher, and a former Red right after him at 85, Aroldis Chapman from the Red Sox. At 86, Kyle Bradish from the Orioles, pitcher over there. 87, Matt Chapman, third baseman from the Giants. Giants is sort of a quiet list when it comes to the Giants.
Yeah, but there's talent on that team. Absolutely, especially if things turn up. They have a new manager and a new look on the team, and we're going to see what they're going to be like with a full season of Rafael Devers without all of the drama of the midseason trade. I think he's going to fit in nicely.
At 88, Cole Reagans from the Kansas City Royals. At 89, Alejandro Kirk from the Blue Jays. At 90, Eugenio Suarez, also from the Cincinnati Reds, third baseman there. At 91, I'm just going to have to start saying West Sacramento now. That just has to be what this is. So you've really broken my brain with that one. Shea Langoliers, the catcher in West Sacramento. At 92, Dylan Cease from the Toronto Blue Jays. And 93, Pablo Lopez from the Minnesota Twins. At 94, Austin Riley, third baseman from the Braves, one of the best third basemen in the league, but finds himself almost off the Locked On MLB Top 100 list. What are people missing about Austin Riley? Locked On Braves host Jake Mastriani.
Austin Riley makes it into Locked On Podcast Network's MLB Top 100, coming in at number 94. And this is the first one for me that I was a little surprised that Austin Riley actually made this list. He is coming off a couple of dreadful seasons. Yes, some of it injury related, but also just not getting it done when he has been on the field. It's a big 2026 for Austin Riley. As we've talked about on the podcast, I think he's one of the most important players for the Atlanta Braves going into 2026. So happy to see him, that he made the top 100. I would not have been upset at all had he dropped off. It's 4 straight years now for Austin Riley of his WRC plus declining. Certainly has the capability of being a top 50, top 30 player like he was when he had a great 3-year stretch from 22 through 23, but definitely is going to have to prove it again in 2026. And if he does, I expect him to shoot up this top 100 list next year.
We're almost to the end of the top 100 on Locked On MLB's top 100 list. Is your favorite player going to be on here that's not on the list yet? At 95, Nick Lodolo from Cincinnati. At 96, Seiya Suzuki from Chicago, outfielder extraordinaire there. At 97, Brent Rooker, a designated hitter extraordinaire. At 98, Joan Duran from the Phils. Drake Baldwin at 99, which means we just have one player left. At 100, Marlins starting pitcher Sandy Alcantara. One name that didn't appear on this list, but is making waves. Connor Griffin, the shortstop for the Pirates. He has yet to play a Major League Baseball game, but Locked On Pirates host Gary Morgan says, watch out, he'll be on this list next year.
Connor Griffin clocks in at number 143, and that is just erroneous. Absolutely erroneous. On the Locked On Podcast Network's MLB Top 100. I'm Gary Morgan, host of Locked On Pirates, and the only reason that this is, real is because, first, it is accurate. Even I couldn't vote for Connor Griffin in the top 100. because two miracles would have to happen that haven't happened in forever. No teenager has started right out of spring training in about 40 years. And the Pirates don't often do things that haven't been done in 40 years. They're not the trendsetter, they're the follower. So I think it's at least worth questioning whether the Pirates will actually move forward with it. And if he doesn't play a full season, well, then, yeah, there's no way he's a top 100 player. But we reshuffle this midseason, I would bet we'll find Connor Griffin entrenched in the top 50. That's how confident I am in him, and the national media seems to agree. Can't wait to start talking about his actual play on the field in the regular season and prove this out.
That does it for the Locked On MLB Top 100 list. For more reactions, subscribe to your favorite team's Locked On podcast to find reactions on the players you follow most. The Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
This is Locked On's 2025 NHL Top 100 Players, as voted on by the local hosts of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.